Hello my dear students, welcome to Study Learners Institution. I am Mayank Prajapati, the teacher of Biology in Study Learners Institution. इस चैनल को लाइक करें, शेयर करें, सब्सक्राइब करें और बेल आइकन को प्रेस करना ना भूलें. In this video, we will understand part 2nd of this chapter number 8, How do organisms reproduce? Vegetative propagation can also be done artificially by cutting, layering, grafting, etc. Means by stem, underground stems of potato, onion, garlic, etc. Subaerial stems of water, hyacinth, mint, strawberry, etc. By roots of certain plants like guava, carrot, sweet potato, and dahlia have adventitious buds on the roots which give out shoots that develop into new plants. By leaves, in Bryophyllum, adventitious buds are present along the notches of the leaves. During favorable conditions, young plantlets develop from these buds. These plantlets fall off, develop roots, and become independent plants. Now we talk about cutting. What is cutting? When cutting off short pieces of plants such as a stem placed in moist soil with suitable conditions, they develop roots and shoots and grow into a new plant. Example: grapes, falsa, bougainvillea, cactus and pineapple, etc. Second, layering. In this, a branch of the plant is buried in soil and is induced to produce roots while it is still attached to the parent plant. Mound layering. In this, a flexible branch of stem is trimmed off its side branches. The branch is bent to the ground level and buried about 5 inches around the soil, leaving the tip exposed. After some time, roots grow from the branch into the soil. Now this plant can be cut from the main plant and made to grow as an independent plant. Now we talk about grafting. It is a technique of joining a part of one plant on a different plant so that they unite and grow as one plant. The supporting and rooted part of the plant is called stalk, and the part of the plant to be grafted is called sign. The stalk has a gut or root system and is generally disease resistant. The sign is a cutting from a plant of desirable variety like superior quality flowers and fruit. Grafting is done in a way that cambium of sign is in direct contact with the cambium of stalk. The new plant has the root system of stalk and shoot system of sign. Now we talk about importance of vegetative propagation. It is easier, less expensive and a rapid way of producing new plants under favorable conditions. Plants produced in such a way bear flowers and fruits much earlier. It can be used to preserve a stock of preserved varieties. Now we talk about sexual reproduction in flowering plants. Reproductive parts of a flower. The stamen and pistil are the reproductive parts of the flower. Stamen is the male reproductive part. It produces pollen grains in the anther, which contains the male germ cell, male gamete. Pistil is the female reproductive part. It produces ovules in the ovary which contain the female germ cell, female gamete. Stamen. What is stamen? Male reproductive part of a flower. It consists of a stalk called filament and a flattened top called. This is anther. Anthers produce pollen grains that produce two male gametes. What is garpel? Female reproductive part of a flower. They have a swollen ovary at the base, an elongated style in the terminal stigma. The ovary contains ovules. Each ovule has female gamete. Now we talk about Pollination. What is pollination? The transfer of pollen grains from the anther to the stigma of a flower is called pollination. Means that the transfer of pollen grains from anther to the stigma of a flower is called pollination. It takes place by wind, water of insects. If the pollen grains are transferred from the anther to the stigma of the same flower, it is self-pollination. And if it is transferred from the anther of one flower to the stigma of another flower, it is cross-pollination. Pollination takes by insects, wind, water, etc. Means cross-pollination and self-pollination. Self-pollination is that the transfer of pollen grains from the anther of a flower to the stigma of the same flower is known as self-pollination, and cross-pollination is that the transfer of pollen from the anther of one flower to the stigma of the anther of the another flower, either of the same plant or of a different plant of the same species, is known as cross-pollination. Now we talk about fertilization. What is fertilization? After the pollen grain is transferred to the stigma, it produces a pollen tube which passes through the style and enters the ovary and ovule. In the ovule, the male germ cell, male gamete, fuses with the female germ cell, female gamete, to form a zygote. This process is called fertilization. After fertilization, the zygote divides several times and forms the embryo, which then develops into the seed, and the ovary develops into the fruit. Means that once pollen grains are deposited on stigma, they form tubes called pollen tubes. Once pollen tube grows inside the style and reaches the ovary, then it enters the ovule through a small pore called micropyle. Inside the ovule, two male gametes are released into the embryo sac. One male gamete fuses with the egg, and this fusion is called syngamy, which produces zygote. The other male gamete fuses with two polar nuclei, and this is called triple fusion. Means that three nuclei involved. Thus, two fusion processes occur in the embryo sac, and hence it is called double fertilization. After fertilization, the zygote divides several times to form an embryo within the ovule. The ovule develops a seed coat and develops into a seed. The ovary develops into fruit. Now we talk about reproduction in human being. What is reproduction in human being? In human, reproductive system is highly evolved. The reproductive system becomes functional at the definite age called puberty. Males reaches this age the age of 13-14 years, while females reach puberty at the age of 10-12 years. At the age of puberty, male produce sperms and the male hormone testosterone from the testes. The female produce ova and female hormone estrogen from the ovary. These hormones are important because they regulate the process of gametogenesis, formation of gametes, maintain structure and function of accessory sex organs, develop secondary sex characters like facial, axial, and pubic hair, pitch of voice, and development of mammary glands. Now we talk about male reproductive system. A male reproductive system consists of a pair of testes which produce the male reproductive cells called sperms and the hormone testosterone. It's contained in sac-like structure called scrotum. From each testes arises a tube called vas deferens. It joins into the urethra. The urethra is enclosed in a muscular organ called penis. It has an opening called genital pore. The seminal vesicles and prostate glands produce fluids which provide nutrition and help in the movement of sperms. Male reproductive system is called primary. Male reproductive organ is a pair of testes. They lie in small pouch-like muscular structure outside the abdominal cavity called scrotum or scrotal sac. Scrotum provides optimal temperature for formation of sperms. This temperature is 1 to 3 degrees Celsius lower than body temperature. From each testis arises a long tube called vas deferens. Along the path of the vas deferens lie the prostate gland and seminal vesicles. They aid their secretion, which makes sperms mobile and provides nutrition to sperms. It unites with the duct coming from urinary bladder to form a common tube called urethra. Urethra is enclosed in within a thick muscular organ called penis that opens outside through the genital pore. This opening is common from urine and sperms. The sperms are tiny bodies that contain mainly the genetical material and a long tail for motility. Now we talk about female reproductive system. The female reproductive system consists of a pair of ovaries which produce the female reproductive cells called ova or eggs and the hormone estrogen. Above the ovaries are tubes called oviducts or fallopian tube. The two oviducts unite into a bag-like structure called uterus. The uterus has opening called vagina. Paired ovaries are located in the abdominal cavity near the kidneys. Ovaries produce the female gamete ova and also secrete female hormones estrogen and progesterone. Progesterone. Each ovary is composed of follicles that mature to produce ova at their puberty. Near posterior end of ovary, a funnel-like structure leads into a long convoluted tube called fallopian tube or oviduct. Fallopian tube from both the sides open into an elastic bag-like structure called uterus. The uterus opens into the vagina through the cervix. Vagina is a tubular structure also called birth canal, as the young one after maturation in the uterus is born through this canal. In females, urethra has vaginal opens and separate. Opening are separates. Now we talk about fertilization in human beings. During sexual intercourse, the sperms from the male enters into the vagina of the female. The sperms reaches the oviduct. One sperm fuses with an egg and forms a zygote. The zygote then gets implanted in the uterus. The zygote then starts dividing to form an embryo. The embryo gets nutrition from the mother blood through the placenta. The development of the child takes 9 months and then the child is born. This is the picture of stages in the early development of the embryo. Menstruation. What is menstruation? The ovary produces one egg every month and the uterus prepares to receive the fertilized egg. Its wall becomes thick and spongy with blood vessels for nourishing the embryo. If fertilization does not take place, then the uterus wall breaks and comes out of the vagina as blood and mucus. This cycle takes place once every month and is called menstruation. Reproductive health techniques to prevent and manage pregnancy. Reproductive health. What is sexually transmitted disease? Sexually transmitted disease are the disease transmitted through the sexual contact. They may be bacterial infections like gonorrhea and syphilis, etc., or viral infections like warts and HIV/AIDS. Prevention of pregnancy or contraception of pregnancy. Pregnancy can be prevented by three main methods. They are barrier methods, chemical methods, and surgical methods. Now, we talk about first barrier method. Barrier methods consist of using condoms, diaphragm, cervical caps, copper T, etc. Means that physical devices such as condoms, diaphragm, and cervical caps are used. They prevent entry of sperms in the genital tract during the copulation and also prevent sexually transmitted disease like AIDS, gonorrhea, and syphilis. Chemical method. What is chemical method? Chemical method consists of taking drugs like oral pills, vaginal pills, etc. Use of specific drugs by females. Oral pills are hormonal preparation. They inhibit production of gametes by changing hormonal balances. They can cause side effects. Surgical methods consist of removing or tying a part of the vas deferens in males, vasectomy, or fallopian tube in female. A small portion of the vas deferens in male and fallopian tube in female is surgically removed or ligated or tied. It is called vasectomy in males and tubectomy in females. Reproductive health includes aspects like responsible, safe, and satisfying reproductive life, awareness regarding fertility regulation methods, the right freedom and choice to control birth. Third, ability to prevent and control sexually transmitted disease. Infectious, what are sexually transmitted in detail? I am speaking in detail. And infectious disease caused by bacteria, virus, protozoans, and fungi that spread through sexual contact. Example: gonorrhea, syphilis, trichomoniasis, AIDS, etc. In most cases, symptoms are burning sensation at urination and urethral discharge. Acquired immunodeficiency syndrome, the full form of AIDS, is also a sexually transmitted disease caused by human immunodeficiency virus, full form of HIV. Its cure, its cure has not been found till now, and it may cause death if not treated properly. Now we talk about intrauterine contraceptive devices, IUCDs. A copper T is placed safely in the uterus by a doctor or a skilled nurse that prevents implantation in the uterus. They may cause irritation of uterus. Thank you for watching.